They were living together, building a life under the same roof, but behind closed doors, things weren't as peaceful as they looked. What started as love turned toxic, and one night in May 2022, everything changed. Conflicting stories and unanswered questions. Was it self-defense or was it intentional? It's your girl, Mrs. Tony Two Times, and I'm back with another episode of Hood Tales. In this video, let's take it to Palatka, Florida to discuss the case of how a toxic relationship ended with 50 years in prison. But before we get into this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss any future uploads. Stay tuned until the end to hear the full story. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. In the small, humid city of Palatka, Florida, Tykidra Leonard was a name associated with athletics. In high school, she wasn't just a student, she was a competitor, a track and field standout. Tykidra possessed the kind of drive and physical discipline required to sprint toward a finish line while the world watched. She also played soccer for Palatka High School. Those who knew her back then saw a young woman with momentum. She was energetic, perhaps a bit headstrong, and possessed a personality that didn't like to lose. But as the school years faded into the rearview mirror, that competitive energy began to manifest in much more complicated ways. Behind the athletic accolades was a woman whose personal life was becoming a maze of intense emotions. Now, while Tykidra was known for her athleticism, Shiron Brooks Jr., also known as Metro, was known for his steady hands and big dreams. Born in the summer of '95, Shiron was a Palatka native through and through. He was the kind of man who found peace in the process, whether he was restoring old cars, playing video games, or working hard in the local timber industry. Shiron was a father of two, a son and a daughter, and by all accounts, they were his world. His mother, Martha, described him as a man who wasn't perfect, maybe a bit stubborn at times, but he was fiercely devoted to those he loved. He was a 2012 graduate of Putnam Banner Private School, a warehouse worker, and a man who was building a life in the town he called home. When Tykidra, 23, and Shiron, 26, crossed paths, it was a collision of two very different energies. They began dating, and for a while, it seemed like the classic love story of a local couple making a go for it. By early 2022, they decided to take the next step. They started living together in a single-family home on South 14th Street. But inside those four walls, the passion others noticed began to sour. It wasn't a secret to the neighborhood. The sounds of joy and laughter from the couple were frequently replaced by the sounds of arguing and shouting. Their relationship became a cycle, passionate but unstable, fueled by jealousy and control. Neighbors would later recall that while they often appeared as a happy couple walking together, the tension was always simmering just beneath the surface. It was an on-again, off-again relationship that was slowly reaching its breaking point. On May 20th, 2022, the atmosphere inside the home the couple shared was heavy. The tension between Tykidra and Shiron was starting to boil over. Surveillance footage from the Ring camera, installed just 2 weeks prior, actually caught the two of them walking in and out of the house together 30 minutes before everything would change for the couple. To a passerby, they looked fine, but inside the house, a heated argument erupted. It wasn't just words this time. This was a physical struggle. Broken glass shattered across the floor, items were scattered, and the stubbornness Shiron's mother mentioned more than likely met the intense drive of Tykidra in the worst way possible. As the night crept closer, something went terribly wrong. In a panic, Tykidra called 911. When Palatka police arrived, they found a chaotic scene. Tykidra was kneeling over Shiron, crying and yelling for him to come on and stay with her. A kitchen knife was near Shiron's body as he clung to life. Police asked Tykidra what happened. Her first explanation: there was an intruder. She told officers she had been asleep, heard someone entering, and acted out of fear, thinking a stranger had broke into their home. She claimed she didn't realize it was her boyfriend until it was too late. But the investigators in Palatka were thorough. They looked at the Ring camera footage. They saw the couple walking in together just minutes prior. There was no sign of forced entry. The intruder's story evaporated instantly. So Tykidra changed her tune. In a second interview, she admitted that they were arguing and claimed Shiron had grabbed her by the neck and she was simply defending herself. However, the medical examiner's report didn't back up her claim. Shiron was struck twice, once in the upper chest and once in the back. The evidence suggested that at the moment of the final blow, Shiron may have been trying to turn away or leave the room. Shiron had marks on his arms that suggested he was the one defending himself from her, and Tykidra herself had no significant injuries to show for the struggle she described. What investigators believed happened that night is that in the heat of the altercation, Tykidra reached for a butcher-style blade from the kitchen, and in a flash, the physical dispute reached a point of no return. Shiron passed away from his injuries at the hospital, and Tykidra was taken into custody and held without bond. For Shiron's family, the wheels of justice turned slowly. Their hearts were heavy for more than 2 years as the case made its way through the system. Finally, in September 2025, Tykidra Leonard entered a no-contest plea to second-degree offense with a weapon. On a Thursday in November, the final chapter was approaching. The judge listened as Shiron's mother, Martha, spoke about the son she lost. The state attorney noted that even at her sentencing, Tykidra seemed to struggle with accepting full responsibility for what happened that day in May 2022. The judge didn't hold back, noting that Tykidra had every opportunity to walk away from that argument, but instead chose a path that could never be undone. She was sentenced to 50 years in prison. May Shiron Brooks Jr. continue to rest in peace. My belated condolences to his family and friends. He was more than a headline. He was a father, a son, and a man who loved restoring old cars. Now I hope his family is finding peace as they continue the journey towards healing. As for Tykidra Leonard, she has 5 decades to reflect on that single moment that changed everything. Now I'm sure that Shiron brought his fair share of issues to the relationship, but it doesn't mean his life should have been taken. Tykidra should have chosen herself and left the relationship if her needs were no longer being met. You can't control what a person does or doesn't do. You only have control over yourself. This case left the city of Palatka with a lot to process. It's a tragedy that highlights how quickly a toxic relationship can turn into a permanent loss. But as we look at this story, let's ask ourselves these questions. When you're in a relationship that's constantly up and down, arguing, making up, arguing again, At what point do you recognize it's becoming dangerous to stay in that situation? And finally, when the relationship turns toxic, why is it so hard for people to walk away before the point of no return? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. All right, fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking and sharing. Be sure to subscribe for more stories like this. Take care of yourself and each other. I'll talk to y'all in the next one.